Hi everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. I thought I would take the opportunity, since I don't have any Thanksgiving plans and class is canceled because it's Thanksgiving, to make my review video of my ballet flats, all 3 pair. I'll start with the Bloc Zenith. They were the first pair I had. They, I think they're good for someone just starting out. Though at my studio, most of the beginners, most of everybody starts out in the Capezio Hanamis, just because I think the store that's closest to our studio sells that mostly. And also because they're soft and easy to work your feet in and everything. For me, well, for all 3 pair that I got, were all off of Poshmark because I could get them less expensive. They were all pre-owned, but not used. They were, like someone bought the wrong size and they were just reselling it because they couldn't return it or something like that. So the first pair I came across were the Bloch. I liked these a lot at first. I don't like them now. They are extremely thick. The color, number one, is also very kind of a salmon-y color compared to other shoes. It's much darker pink. It's not overly flattering, the shade of pink. It's also very, very thick, so it was very hard for me to kind of work my toes. And the other complaint I had, I mean, the way it fits, all 3 pair of the shoes I have were all pre-sewn elastic, so it was great because I didn't have to sew anything. This is the only pair that had drawstrings, which are annoying, and you have to tuck them or cut them or whatever. But, I mean, the way it's made, it makes the arch look great in the beginning. When you first get them and they're formed to your foot, your arch looks beautiful. Over time it stretches out, they get a bit baggy, it doesn't look beautiful anymore. But my biggest complaints were that I couldn't move my toes. I couldn't really get this going. And the size of that. The ball of the foot, if you compare it to the others, it's much more narrow. And it makes things like turns really insecure. They're like not as secure, in my opinion. I feel like in a pair of shoes with a wide bottom, I feel like I'm secure on the floor when I do a turn. I do like the way it breaks in. It gets shiny. I have the Capezios I'll go over in a second, which was my biggest complaint with them, had to do with the wear and tear of that. But these were a good shoe to begin in, not so much after they kind of stretch out and they get kind of baggy. Like, they get pretty baggy. I mean, I guess they'd be good to have as a backup pair. The pair I got after, I moved on to the Capezio Hanami. I wanted something that I felt like I could do this. I wanted it to feel more like a sock. I know a lot of people describe this as feeling like a sock. Maybe like a really, really thick sock that's almost a shoe. These are like a sock. These are like a sock. They are super thin. It's like the canvas doesn't even like look or feel like canvas. It feels like fabric, like fabric that your clothes are made out of, kind of fabric. The inside is also very soft. I love all of that about this shoe. I really, really do. It's my favorite shoe for fit. However, the big downside of this is, number one, the way it's made on the inside. This right here falls right under your toes. A lot of the time it gets stuck right under your toes. And it's uncomfortable, and I was constantly readjusting my shoe and constantly feeling like it was kind of putting a lot of pressure under there, and so my feet were feeling kind of numb. And also, the biggest complaint is the bottom. If you can see, I wore these, I think of all 3 shoes, I wore these the longest. The bottom is still, it's like just barely shiny. The suede on these is a different quality of suede. It's a lot thicker, and it doesn't smooth over. And I think some people think that's great. One of my teachers was like, well, that's really good because then you're not going to slide a lot. However, she and my other teacher did admit that this model of shoe has been the slipperiest shoe for them. We use liquid rosin at our studio, and if I don't put any on, I'm sliding everywhere. If I put some on, I'm stuck to the floor. Like, there's no in between with this shoe. There's zero in between with this shoe. So if I wear these and I got rosin on them and we're doing a promenade, I'm like glued down. Like, I can't, I'm like, can't get around. And I used to have to switch to these if we were doing promenades. And then I was like, whoop, and there I was done. You know, so that was my biggest complaint with these, was this. And I'm wondering if maybe I got a bum pair. I'm not sure if anybody else has worn this shoe and had this issue, or they've noticed that this takes forever to break in. Please let me know, because I'm really interested in knowing if other people have had that issue with this shoe, or if maybe I got a really, like, a bum pair. Like, even the bottom one hasn't even broken it at all, and I understand that that's normal because you're on the ball of your foot, but if you can see, this one has a little bit there. This one doesn't. But yeah, please let me know, because I feel like I can't do anything in this shoe, and I want to be able to do stuff in this shoe because it has such a great fit. After these, because I got so fed up with that, I moved on to the Danca Bliss, because I was looking for something that was in between. I wanted the fit of these, but I wanted the technical side of that smoothness. So I was like, well, what is the closest? And so Danca Bliss is kind of like an in-between. It's not quite as thin as this. This is very sock and fabric like this. You can see the grain of the canvas. It's much more canvas-like. It's a lot less fabric-like. It has, the inside is very different. It's just got the long strip down the sole, on the insole. I think it's made of suede. I'm not sure. It feels like suede or some type of suede-like fabric. It might be fabric. It's fabric. But it kind of causes my feet to sweat more than the other two shoes. That's not too much of a problem. It fits similarly to this. It might be a little tighter. Mine might also be a half size too small. My teacher thinks it looks fine. I feel like it might be too small based on certain spots that are rubbing. As you can see, I've worn this a lot less than the Capezio Hanami, and it's getting shiny, which means it's breaking in similarly to these, which makes it really good for technical things, because I can put the liquid rosin on it and I'm not going to drag. I'm going to be able to complete turns, I'm going to be able to do everything I need to do and not be just glued down to the floor like I am in these. My big complaint on these are the elastics. The elastics on these are on the cheap side. They are thinner and cheaper than both other brands. And the way that they're sewn very cheaply. The first day I had these, I put them on and the elastic ripped off and I had to sew it back down, and I should not have to do that. If I buy something that's pre-sewn, I shouldn't have to pull out needle and thread. There were other spots on the elastics that were kind of coming loose, and I had to sew them back down in those spots. Also, because the elastics are on the cheaper side, they're rougher. In the spots where they've had to burn them, it's much more rough and it's been rubbing on my skin. So my big complaint on the Dancas is the elastics. They are cheap, they are not sewn well, and they rub. Everything else I really love about this shoe. Sticking with it for now. I really want to try, eventually I want to try the Cynthia King vegan shoes. But for now, until I have the money to do that, these are the ones I'm sticking with. My feet do sweat a little more in them, and the rubbing is an issue, but then again, it might be because they're slightly too small. I'm not entirely sure if they are or are not too small. I honestly really wish that the Capezio had worked for me. I know there are so many people who swear by this shoe. And I know there are people who swear by all three pair of these shoes. I've had issues with all three pair of these shoes. But so far, the ones that meet the qualifications that I need met, which is being able to get through class and being able to get turns done and promenades done and not slide all over the floor and not be glued to the floor. So Danca. So Danca wins so far. Maybe someday somebody will make a medium between the So Danca and the Capezio so I can have the fit of the Capezio, because I really like the feeling of this fabric, and I really, really wish I could find a pair of shoes that has this fabric-y feel, but with this type of suede on the bottom. So maybe, dear Capezio, if you're watching, can you change whatever type of suede you're using on the bottom of your shoes? Or at least make a model that has a thinner type of, or whatever kind of suede this is, that's different from this, that breaks in better. Probably not. But anyway, so far, So Danca wins, hands down for me. All three pair had good qualities, all three pair had bad qualities. It's an individual thing. We're all different. We all have different anatomy, we have different feet, we all have different needs, we have different technique and artistry. So I don't really know if this video is helpful at all for anybody, but yeah, hopefully it was. Have a happy Thanksgiving.